There is a short list of items you need to attend to if you're about to retire. And in this video, I want to share with you 5 of those items you should have on that list. But before we get there, subscribe to my channel. I have over 30 years in this business advising folks who are retiring, and I hope to provide you some guidance as well. I want to start off by saying I think our industry has done a lousy job of preparing most people for retirement. The messaging seems to be that if you just accumulate as much money as you can, then you'll get the happiest retirement in front of you. That's not always the case, and there's so many different components and elements you need to be considering so that you can give yourself the opportunity for a confident retirement and pursue those items on your bucket list. Spend that time with your grandkids. Go travel. But you need to spend some time on some very specific items, and I'm going to give you 5 of those right now. The first one deals with debt. Now, as I said, our industry focuses on accumulating money, but many people, studies show, who are unable to achieve the satisfaction level that they had expected into retirement, list debt as the #1 item that is causing them distress. So this is what I want you to think about. There's 2 different forms of debt. There's good debt and there's bad debt. The bad debt is the debt that is costing you a lot in interest rates on assets that are depreciating in value or have no value at all, like a credit card or potentially the car loan. Those are 2 items that I would consider to be bad debt. And as you anticipate going into retirement, I suggest accelerating the payments to get those down as low as possible. The good debt, like on a home mortgage, for instance, on an asset that typically over time appreciates and the interest rates are low historically, and for many they're tax deductible, I would just pay off that debt on that monthly basis as you have been doing so. That's okay to have that kind of debt. The second item is to understand what your cash flow need is. Now, I get back to what our industry puts out there, having to accumulate a lot of money. But if you don't understand exactly how much cash you need on a monthly basis, then you never really know how much money you need or if you've accomplished that retirement nest egg. There was a study done a number of years ago by New York Life, and it asked 3 different sets of people the same question. The first set of people had $500,000 of investable assets, and they said, "Do you think you are able to retire?" And they said, "No." And the follow-up question was, "Well, how much money do you think you need?" And they said, "We think we need $1 million." They asked the second set of folks, those who had $1 million, whether or not they thought they could retire, and they said no. And they asked them the follow-up question, "How much money do you think you need?" And the number came in at about $2.4 million. Now, the third group had $2 million, and they were asked the same 2 questions. Do you think you can retire? No. How much money do you think you need? They said they thought about $5 million. Well, the underlying message for this story is, if you know how much you need cash flow wise, and if you know how much you have coming in, then you can figure out how much your nest egg needs to be in order to generate the portfolio and the income that you need for the rest of your retirement. So the industry does this backwards, I believe. You should understand your cash flow needs first, and then you can figure out how much money you need. It really takes the mystery out as to whether or not you can retire on your terms. The third item, which is really crucial, And a recent study by United Income said that 96% of people take their Social Security at the wrong time. The third one is how to maximize your Social Security income. And with about 567 different choices, it can be difficult if you haven't been through it before. Way too many people take it way too early, and we've devoted an enormous amount of time on this channel with regards to this topic because it's so crucial to the income needs and your feeling of confidence as you go through retirement. What do you need? What does your spouse need? What happens if your spouse becomes the widow? Do you take it now? Do you defer it? Do you wait to age 70? There's so many different choices. What I want to do here is I just want to identify the task that you need, and I want to share with you the video that you might want to go to get some more in-depth information. The fourth item is also a financial item, and it really is about minimizing your taxes. Now, we enter into a new stage of planning here. When we were working, it was the accumulation stage. We were looking to just grow as much money as we can toward our retirement nest egg. But now that we're retiring, we're moved to the distribution stage where more often than not, money is now coming out of the portfolio to generate the income we need. And here is where the tax planning can make a big difference. Depending upon where the money comes from, either a retirement account or a non-retirement account, the taxes could be very different. And you need to plan for and properly sequence what your income faucet will look like. And if you develop the income faucet properly, you can not only get the income that you need, but potentially minimize the taxes that you're going to pay. This is something you should be coordinating with your advisor and your accountant now that you're headed into retirement. The fifth item may be the most important conversation I deal with my clients, and it's not financial. And again, this is where I think the industry does a lousy job. The most important thing you can do as you enter into retirement is to find some purpose. To make sure that you have a rewarding, feel good, you feel respected, you're doing things you love to do, you find passion. So many times I talk with people and I say, what's your number one fear as you enter into retirement? Sometimes it's I may run out of money. Got it. But for many, it is, so what am I going to do the rest of my life? How am I going to fill my time? Where am I going to find my reward and my joy? So I think it's really important, particularly if you're married, to have a conversation with your spouse. If you're not, have this conversation on your own. And make sure that you strategize how you're going to fill your time and where you're going to get your rewards.